India is doing very well. So I think we can compete at world level. But as I said in one of our previous meetings, so I think what we need to do is we need to create a very good environment in the institutes if somebody is doing very well. So unless we do that, I think systematic reforms are required in the institutes also to promote the science. So for example, if you see in most of the foreign countries where if you have a very big scientist, so he will have all the support. His main focus, his or her main focus would be only on the science and only on the technical aspects. But for in India, if you see, we will have to deal with so many things, and we actually do more administration, even if you are not in any administrative position like HOD or dean or director. Even the faculty have to do a lot of actually work. So all these requires even the systematic reforms actually at the institute level and most of the institutes. So if we don't do that, I think we will be wasting a lot of time. So I think we have to reform even some of the things like performance incentive that we give to the performance and those who are performing. So those should be basically encouraged, and that has to be systematically done. And we have to use certain tools actually to basically do this properly. Like we can use the technology. Like there are a lot of database, and if we maintain clearly the database, and then if we can basically analyze it at the DST level or at the institute level or even the individuals, actually if they can analyze their performance or indicators, and then if this is used for the reviewing of the people and supporting the people, so I think it will be very good, very good. And also other thing is we need to also have very clear cut ethical and best practices guidelines very clearly. For example, in the institutes, if somebody is not in a very good environment, for example, if you see gender equality or even there are many other kinds of discrimination and things like that. Suppose if you don't have a very clear mechanism, or if you don't have very clear guidelines, and then people always get into all these kinds of things and waste a lot of time, first of all, and then people will not have very good peaceful peace of mind actually to focus on that. So you not only need a very good funding, but you also need a very good environment if you really want to go to the top level. So right now we are doing reasonably good, but if you want to go to the top level, you need to really support your system, and that has to be really very good actually. If that is not the case, then it will be very big problem. For example, if you see the athletes who go for the Olympics, if you look at carefully their daily schedule, and it is very precise, what they do, what they eat, everything will be very precise. And if you want to reach at the top level, if you want to really compete with the world in technology or in science or wherever, you have to really plan everything, and you need a very good supportive system. If you don't have that, I think it will be a problem. So for this, you also need very good guidelines at the institute level. Ethical guidelines, our ethical guidelines are actually very old. For example, if you see the conflict of interest, worldwide, these are very well established, but in our country, we don't practice that. I think that is a very big problem. So if the system automatically basically refines the people, and the people with quality can automatically go ahead without much problem. I know every system will have a little bit faults, and then it will never be 100% perfect. But system should be in such a way that it will automatically take the bulk of the good people and then put them on the top. If this can happen, then those who are doing even at the mid-level, they will also try to actually catch up and then do well. As a whole, the whole system will benefit. So we need the funding, plus we also need the reforms related to how we fund. We also need a lot of details, and we need actually to do all these things in a very careful manner. So I think these are my points, but if I think when we discuss, I think I will comment further on some of the things. But I think this is one of the problems. When I talk to the people in Indian scientists, most of the people say that they do more administration than the basically the effort that they put on the research aspect, like talking to the students or involving in recent discussions and all. So I think this aspect has to be taken very seriously. I don't know if this can fit very well into the science policy as such, but I think unless you set up all these things, you cannot really focus on the science. Even if you give a lot of money, and one has to have the time to actually focus on the science and then do the things. So these are my views on this. And yeah, so maybe I request others to basically comment on this, and we can discuss further on some of the points.
Thank you, Jayatma. And particularly the point you made, in fact, it's a point which was made by the Prime Minister in the previous Science Congress, where he said that the scientists should spend quality time in trying to understand the mysteries of the universe and the mind, rather than understanding the mysteries of file notings and the Swami's handbook on government rules. So I think this is exactly what.
Yeah.
And
Right.
okay, so maybe can we have your other colleagues from ICER? I see Professor Nilanjana Sengupta, if she is there.
Yeah, I'm there.
Yes, please.
So let me introduce Nilanjana. Nilanjana is basically associate professor in biology department in in ICER Kolkata. So she worked before in NCL Pune, National Chemical Laboratories. Few years back, she moved to ICER Kolkata, and she is my colleague at ICER Kolkata.
Okay, thanks, Malla. Yeah, very nice points, and I completely second what Malla just summarized so nicely over here. And yeah, completely. I mean, I'll just cite my example of today's day. So I'm supposed to, I have a project which closed, which got extended beyond a certain date. And I'm kind of really stressed out about making sure that all my paperwork goes on time and everything. To the point where I have to compromise my, I have to actually, defocus from my teaching and other academic activities, and actually have to kind of really, and if I don't do it correctly, maybe later on I will be cited, or I will be somehow penalized, or somehow, told that I have, mishandled things. So that kind of a fear, or that kind of a stress on handling, too many aspects of non-academic things, I know that we cannot do away with it, but if we can minimize that, or somehow, if the funding bodies and everything else can somehow streamline it a little better, or give us periodic updates, or be a little bit more sympathetic on us, that would be really appreciated, I think, because we are trying to multitask like crazy. We do teaching, we try to make sure we produce enough research articles. On top of that, when we have to deal with, when we are expected to be on top of all the paperwork, it creates quite a bit of stress. And I'm not saying that is no excuse for us to underperform in any way, but every little strand of help counts actually at the end of the day. So thanks for bringing this up. I think this is a very important discussion that you have started.
Thank you, Nilanjana. So,
if Mallaji and permits, can I give some statistics regarding this science and technology in last few years, couple of years, so that it would be better for everybody to
sure, I
put
think,
their point.
yes. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So
you are sharing something?
Yeah, this is no. I will just tell.
Sure.
Maybe sharing would be a time-taking thing. So this statistics is as follows: that right now India is producing so many. Basically, number of publications has increased to a large extent. So India is now third position in terms of number of publications in SCI journals. So India was in 5th position in 2014. Right now it's in 3rd position, and 9th position in terms of quality. So India was 13th when in 2014. Right now 9th position, and 3rd position in terms of number of PhDs India is producing, and obviously China is the number 1, and 3rd largest higher education system in the world, and 3rd position in terms of number of startups. 32,000 startups. Basically in recent years it increased a lot, and 3rd position in terms of number of unicorns, basically Huron Global Unicorn List, and 9th rank in terms of resident patent filing, and 52nd rank in terms of Global Innovation Index, and women participation basically doubled in last 6-7 years, But apart from that, what we feel in the field is basically still then our science and technology is not at par any developed countries. So maybe population is another might be another factor. But what should be in the policy as a researcher? What should we feel? What should be in the policy so that we can have a good scientific environment or research environment or industrial environment in this country? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jajati ji, for this wonderful statistics. So looks like in terms of number, by sheer number, I mean, I'm also sharing my thought. We are producing a lot of PhD students, but in terms of innovations, we are lacking. So this is something, because number of PhD wise, we are number 3rd, but in terms of innovation index, we are 52, which is something which we should improve.
Yes.
That brings us to quality again. So overall, I think we are lagging on the quality, I think. So that is where we need to spend more time and then find out like how exactly we can actually go there. So if you have to bring out the quality, that means you should have a mechanism to identify the quality. If you want to identify the quality, then the system has to be very, very fair. And then it's not that, one or two people, one or two people are not going to be important, but, the bulk of the quality you have to identify. I think if you want to do that in this age, if you use the technology, I think that is the easiest way. And this big data and a lot of things can be used, but you need to just find out a mechanism to use it and analyze it and then transparently also publish it. If you can do that, like DST or even institutes, if they can do it to some extent, so we can do that. I can tell you in our department, ISER Kolkata, actually we do this as a practice to distribute the little funding that we get from the institute every year. So we all agree in the department that whoever is basically contributing more or in whatever way, it's not very correct. We all know, we all agree that it is not the best practice, but as a department we find that this is the only way we can basically in some way we can basically distribute this money, and then we can basically produce and then compete with each other. So I think if it can be done as a practice in most institutes or even in the DST or even in the CSR, when they distribute the funds, if they have a mechanism to basically analyze their own schemes and then check which pockets are actually doing good. If all this they can analyze and then publish it and then discuss with the people, I think competitive environment will basically increase. I think people can basically get into that mode actually. So that might help basically. I think this is one of the also the points that are already mentioned in this discussion. I think in the document, the vision that for the STIP. I think even the gender and all these points are actually there in the previous policy as well. But I think implementation is kind of requires a big focus. Yeah.
Thank you, Malaji. So do we have some of your other colleagues from ISER?
I don't think anybody else has joined from ISER. Professor Paul will join maybe in few minutes. So if he joins, then we'll talk. Yeah.
So in that case, we have very senior professor, Professor Basudev Basu. He is a retired professor from the North Bengal University, and now he is a kind of adjunct professor in Raiganj University. So he has joined us kindly. So we would like to have his. He was also kind of a provost of that institute of North Bengal University. So, Basuda, can we have your few comments and opinions?
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak a few points, particularly on this science, technology, innovation, policy programs. Now, as Professor Oyan Datto told about, my experience for a long time, over 32 years in working in university and doing research, PhD, teaching, so many things and publications. So now, so far the discussions as I have heard from different, scientists from ISAR and other institutes. A few points that I like to mention, but prior to that, I must thank the Vigyan Bharati West Bengal chapter, the Vivekananda Vigyan Mission, for giving me this opportunity to talk or speak on a few points as my experience goes on. So the first thing is, apart from the number of publications and other statistics like PhDs and everything, Professor Jayati has mentioned, a few points, practical points as regard to the STIP 2020 program that I'd like to speak on. The STIP 2020 I would consider as a very important and is in dire need program, which would make our India as a self-reliant India or Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now, the problems that are being faced by scientists or the teachers of the university, there are industrial problems which are not well known to the scientists working in universities or in various institutes. So what actually happens for the scientists or the teachers of the universities, they take up the problems, some of the problems, not maybe relevant to the social needs sometimes, because the needs actually the important factor, the necessity. And necessity will drive the innovation. And regarding the necessity, it may be divided into three parts. First, the local needs. The second is the national needs, and finally the global needs. So all these 3 points need to be considered, and necessity will drive new invention. And now only invention to be done or achieved by the scientist performing researches in universities or institutes may not be enough. May not be enough in the sense that unless we make a joint or cohesive program, like starting from the scientist, then to engineers, then to technocrats or technologists, and finally to the management or particularly the marketing management part. So there should be a cohesive effort of these all categories, and also we must have one or environmental scientist or experts in the team to have a real product which would be utilized or the facilities be given to the Indian people. So that is the important part of STIP 2020. There should be a cohesive combination of this team work. Otherwise, no discovery can finally give you the benefits to the social needs. So this is very important point that I like to mention, and I like to just certify with one simple example. And that may illustrate my speech on this particular part, that cohesive interactions among these various type of specialists. As I am from the northern part of West Bengal, right from this West Bengal, as you know, the Siliguri is the gateway of northeastern India. So all these 8 northeastern states and this northern part of this West Bengal, this part, a huge number of bamboo and cane products, I mean the bamboo trees are being grown totally unscientifically, and they are misutilized, I would say. So I had once I tried to make a plan and tried from the horticulture department of West Bengal. Ultimately, it was not succeeded, although it was approved, but the financial problem makes that's why almost 7-8 years back. So see, this bamboo and canes. If these bamboos and canes are grown in a scientific way with proper tissue culture, the growth increment, increase of growth, and finally, that would be given to the local people for making some value-added products. With minor training, that can be done. That would not only, enrich the local people, not only enrich the economic status of the people, and finally, the environmental part will also be taken care of. So this is one of the examples I just mentioned. So there should be a complete management, the combination of scientist, engineer, technologist, and management. Until and unless we have this type of combined program, in most cases we go for publishing, and finally that publication will give you some impact factor and promotional things and so many, as other scientists have mentioned, some administrative overburdened. So these things will keep continuing. So there should be a combination of this teamwork to get the final product to be given to the society. So with this, I stop here and let me hear about the discussions, and then I can add later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Vasudha.
Hello. ING, Dr. Saurav, the director ICER is joined, I think. Malaji, can you just check?
Professor Paul, are you there? Professor Paul, can you hear us? Yeah, he's there.
He's there, but his audio is not connected.
I think he's connecting. So let us wait for some more time.
Okay, okay. Then we can go to the next.
Yeah.
Okay, we have with us, another very senior professor from Calcutta University, the biological sciences, Professor Debashish Bandyopadhyay. He is a very senior professor and has a very high amount of teaching and research experience. So maybe request Debashish to share his thoughts on the new science, technology and the innovation program. Debashish.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. And my special thanks to Vivekananda Vigyan Mission, of which not only I am hearing for a few days, a few months, I think, but they are doing very good job. And my special thanks to Professor Ayan Datto for inviting me. He was contacting me regularly and I promised him to join. I have read the document that he has sent. This is really a very nice document. If India has to develop faster in comparison to the other countries. A careful consideration of the facts need be taken care of. And I like to mention 3-4 points that are very important, not only for the researchers or teachers who are beginning their career, but at the same time, it is also important for scientists who are midway or advanced to a considerable extent. First of all, this STIP program, if considered seriously, need to take care of 3-4 points very important. I'm mentioning one by one. First, point one is India need to develop good scientific journals, because there are some journals of reputation in India, but in most of the cases journals are of foreign origin, and there are publishers developing outside India which only charge publication fee, and there are no particular grant to either institute or university so that people can pay the publication charges. Many a times even if we get invited to write some article, we have to repeatedly request them to waive the charges. So, and for these reasons, 72 years after independence, India could not develop good journals in many subjects, in science as well. Because, you know, and another thing, there are some journals we used to know like Current Science and Journal of Biosciences, and Indian Journal of Medical Research, and there are few others. But you know, the problem is that if an Indian scientist or an Indian teacher tries to publish a good paper in an Indian journal, you know, he be criticized that he has no other option left, and that's why he is trying to, or she is trying to publish in Indian journal. This is a culture that cannot be supported. Number two, even if, you know, in my career, I have sacrificed a number of papers which could have been published in journals like Journal of Biological Chemistry to Indian journals, to only to support them, that they get good papers and they get flourish. But you know, in the course of time, what I understood that people are not supporting this. So India should try to develop good journals, either sponsors from the government or sponsors from the institute, so that Indian researchers, Indian teachers can publish in Indian journals, which can compete with world's best journals available. Point number two is selection of research projects. That means when a project is selected and awarded. I think this is important for young researchers as well as, you know, grown-up scientists. What is happening? You know, I can give you one example, that when you call a scientist for an interview for an award or project, you make a chart, you put marks on it, and for discussion or sponsoring you keep at least a minimum of marks, because what is important, that what that scientists have done, they are submitting a project with no background of research on that project, and one fine morning you see that that gentleman or gentlewoman got the project, and the person who deserves more funding support fails to get the fund. One example I would like to give you, which you will be surprised, that I went 2-3 years back to defend a project in DST, at the DST's INSA house at Delhi, and defended the project. Then, you know, during the lunch time, I met the chairman. The person was not known even to me, but he called me and called good defense, and hopefully you will be in a good position. Then I returned to Calcutta, and you know, within 1 week I found an email that the project is not funded by DST. So what happened in between? If a chairman decides or the committee decides that a project be funded, and finally, you know, that is cut off from the main list, is a very bad example they are setting. This is one. That when you decide to give a project, you see what that gentleman has done in the past. At least 5 research papers, wherever he has published, whether the publications make sense, this should be judged. And finally, that person be called for the interview. So I think under the STIP program, government will be strict over selection of the project, because, you know, if this continues, if this is allowed to continue, you know, quality of science will never improve in India, because I have seen many people getting projects worth crores of rupees, gave nothing to neither to the community, not to India, and not to the society. And I think you are matured enough scientists, you can have idea of what is happening and what has already happened. You know, how many people now comment like that, that how many papers are published in Nature or Science, taking money from the public exchequer, and preparing the lab, buying the equipments worth crores of rupees, only 1 or 2% using that equipment, and the when you go to judge the publication quality, you can assure yourself that they have done nothing. Third point is that when you call a member as an expert in the selection committee, their quality must be judged by another committee before calling them to the interview. You know, I have some research experiences with published documents in riboflavin metabolism. Riboflavin metabolism, riboflavin in our tissues get converted to flavin adenine dinucleotide and flavin adenine mononucleotide, that is FAD and FMN. Everywhere these coenzymes are required in the oxidative metabolism. I have submitted several projects to several funding agencies, but none of the scientists or teachers who have evaluated the project couldn't even understand what the FAD and FMN are doing within the cell. You know that even for getting a cure for the cancers, you have to have a very solid knowledge, scientific backed knowledge about FAD, FMN metabolism, because if you can regulate the flavin metabolism within the cells, not only you can reduce the growth of the cancers, but also you can reduce the aging process or content the aging process. So I am very surprised to see that I find wherever the project might have gone, to whoever might have seen the project, could not understand the significance of biological molecule. Everybody is talking about some science, which is nowadays, I'm talking about nowadays, many people talking about such type of science which can never be used for public purpose. So that is very important. That is very important, that when we think new, we should try to understand and suggest to the government that projects, research, education, whatever be the case, should be oriented to the utilization by the people, for the utilization of the Indian society, so that India develop and continues to develop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Devashish.
Yeah,
we have
Professor Pal is there, so you can introduce him.
Yes. We are the Vivekananda Vigyan Mission, and the West Bengal chapter of Vigyan Bharati is extremely happy and glad that we have with us one of the very prominent theoretical chemists, scientists of India, and the director of the Indian Institute of Science Education and Research, Kolkata, Professor Saurabh Pal with us. Can we have Professor Saurabh Pal? I mean, can we request him to kindly switch on the video so that our audience can take a look at him?
Can you see me?
Yes, sir. All of us can see.
So what do you want me to do? I mean,
yeah. So I think we would like to have your comments on the new science, technology, and the innovation policy. And we have been doing it for. Let me just give a small introduction.
Yeah.
So we have been doing it with various stakeholders. Last week we had a meeting with the CSIR scientists. I know CSIR is very close to you, so we had the 3 CSIR labs of Bengal: the CGCRI, IICB, and CMARI. And we got about 20-25 scientists from all of them together, and we got to know their views. Yesterday we had the 3 DST labs in Bengal: cultivation of science, the Bushu Vigyan Mandir, and the SN Bose Center. We had again about 30 scientists from all these 3 institutes, where they expressed their views. And today we have the various educational institutes like IIT, ISERS, NITs, and the universities, both state and general. And we have scientists and scholars from these universities to discuss their own viewpoints and to get their opinion. So, of course, I
Yeah.
mean, for the audience in general, I mean, for the sake of brevity, we don't have much time. So let me just introduce Professor Pal. He, of course, doesn't need any introduction. So Professor Pal has been kind of a cornerstone of theoretical chemistry in India and certainly across the world. He is one of the most decorated scientists of India, and he has contributed very heavily to both the original theoretical developments as well as applied materials. So he is currently the director of IISER Kolkata. Before being the director of IISER Kolkata, he was also the director of the most famous chemistry lab of CSIR, which is the National Chemical Laboratories in Pune, where he started his career. Incidentally, there is a very strong connection between the institute where I work and him, because he was an alumni of our institute. He did his PhD from IACS, and he's a son of the soil. And after contributing very large to science and to the society, he thought he will come back to Bengal, and under him we have statistics. Professor Mallareddy was talking about statistics. So we know statistics that IISER Kolkata is now the #1 chemistry department of India. And soon we should be, I mean, IISER Kolkata should be able to compete with at least NUS, or maybe 5 years from now, you would be competing with, I mean, top ranking US universities, I mean, the chemistry department wise. So with these small words, let me request Professor Pal to share his general views and to bless us in general.
Yeah,
Thank you very
I
much.
think, yeah, I think we have been talking about the STIP. STIP is one of the things, just like NEP is there, National Education Policy. So this is a new policy for science, technology, and innovation. I think the government is giving more importance to the innovation, and of course, the fruitful use of science. And I think that is the major emphasis on the STIP, that the science should be translated. They translated. I have not read the entire document, but what I understand that the translational part of science is what I think the government is more focused on. It is true that much of the science that has been published probably did not have translation potential. It is, of course, the government will not say that we should not have fundamental science. In fact, if you remember, we have projects like the STARS and Spark and several schemes which the government is actually doing. Many of you know the STARS, which is basically a scheme for translational and advanced research in science. In fact, I am chairing the chemistry domain committee, which I think Ministry of Education is going ahead with the second call, I can tell you. So much of these are in the line of STEAM, that we want good science and its translation. And this is, I recall, this is what Louis Pasteur said. Louis Pasteur said, science and its applications, high science and its applications. So I think that is the main motto. The innovation is something that India is very weak. So one of the things that I have been also talking in the government circles, that the STEAP must highlight the innovation part. It is there as an eye, but the highlight is very important, because innovation, it's very easy to say, but my experience is that innovation is not very easy to achieve because of several reasons. On the ground, I have looked at the chemical industries, chemical innovations. There are a lot of gaps, in the sense that when we talk of a startup, from the laboratory research to the device, we still do on a very small scale. And many industries are not ready to come forward simply because we do not have a pilot plan. And I think that's a very few labs, CSIR labs like IIP Dehradun, IICT Hyderabad, NCL Pune, they are blessed with pilot plants. Those pilot plants are very, very important part of innovation, because otherwise you cannot show that a chemical process is doable, translatable. And I think this is very important. We have been talking that the governments, even the state government, central government, they must come together and set up a pilot plant in a zone, and not really that one institution can afford a pilot plant, because it's not possible The pilot plants can be multifunctional. So I think the innovation is one thing, is an encouragement. Our academic institutions are not geared to innovation because many people are not. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So many of the institutions, students are not trained. The faculties are not trained. What is innovation? So they are actually trained to do science. The engineering institutions are trained to look at technology, but to combine this good science and good technology is itself a challenge. And then to come up with some innovative product, that is the biggest challenge that we are faced with. An innovative product can come through a startup in an innovation complex. It can directly come to an industry, but I think the innovation is the key. What is an innovation? I think that's very important. I hope all of us understand what is the difference between invention and innovation. Invention is when you take resources from the nature. The nature is essentially could be simply what you see. And very famously, we talk of, if the story is right or not, that we talk of Isaac Newton seeing apple fall and then discovered Newton's laws. So that's the nature. The nature could be the resources that the government is giving. Just like we are talking of DST projects, you get money. And with that, you discover. So that is invention. What is innovation is a reverse process. After you have discovered a high science, from there, can you give something back to the nature? So can you contribute to the resources? So I would say from knowledge to market, using high science, using the knowledge that I have gained, can you now generate a market, a new market? And that is innovation. Innovation, of course, has several dimensions. Innovation can be in administration, innovation can be in processes, innovation can be in product. More famously, we talk of product innovation and process innovation. And I must here tell you that India is reasonably strong in process innovation. For a long time, being an NCL director, we know that our process innovations are very good. In fact, if you look at the generic pharma, CIPLA and all that, they really benefited from their association with NCL. And what we gave was not the product, we gave actually the processes. So essentially, to do what is process innovation, we find out a new process to synthesize the same product at a much cheaper price. And this is where we have been very good. But what we need today is a product innovation. So for example, when you're looking for a drug for COVID, we need an innovation of a new drug. So that's a product. And that is where we are rather weak. I think our science and technology must be geared to the innovations of that kind. And that is what exactly I'm trying to tell you, that the innovation part has to be highlighted. Science and technology, of course, has been highlighted several times. DST is itself Department of Science and Technology. We all understand. How have we delivered? That's another question. So the government has to look at the translation, look at the implementation of its policy in this STIP. I think if you ask me, the document by itself is very good. It's a question of how we implement now, and both science, technology, translation, and innovation. Just like I always say, the document of NEP, if you look at the National Education Policy, we had a meeting. I must tell you that we had a meeting with the President of India. In fact, on the 20, I think 19th or 18th or 19th September, just recently on a last Saturday, I think 19th of September, last to last Saturday, we had what is called Visitors Conference. So Visitors Conference, I hope all of you know what is a visitor. Visitor is Honorable President of India for all the centrally funded technical institutions, including science. What I mean by technical is also science, HEI or CFTI. So ISER, IIT, NIT, so all central universities, so all directors and vice chancellors are present. And there was a discussion on national education policy. So there are a few presentations. So I think the highlight and presentations are absolutely excellent, I must tell you. I have not seen such a high level of presentations as was done on that day by eminent academics people. And there is a group, I was also in a group which contributed to the internationalization and ranking, how a ranking can go up by internationalization. We also contributed to the faculty, how the faculties can be recruited, how good practices can be done, which can again boost. So there are lots of 4 or 5 different themes in which we actually had a discussion. And again, many people expressed that the policy is very good. Dr. Kasturi Rangan, who is chairing the National Education Policy, himself was there, along with Anil Sahasrabudhe and various other NEP members. I hope you know many of them. They were all there on that day, and they all gave very nice presentations about from the makers of the NEP side. And we all said it's a implementation. Finally, it will come down to implementation. So when you are talking of STIP, it's a very similar thing. The policy is extremely good. I think implementation is where we have been lacking. So, for example, somebody was just now mentioning that we give proposals to people who are not competent. I don't want to comment on that. Who was the committee, because this might happen. Is certainly, I would say, not always that it happens. We have all got proposals from DST, Malla Reddy, and all these people that I know of. I can't say that the proposals have always been given to incompetent people, but it must have happened sometimes. So that's a failure to implement. That's a failure on the part of the committee. So obviously, at the end of the day, we have to depend on individuals to deliver, to individuals to make a proper judgment. The people who have got the projects, they must deliver. And here the focus will be on the innovation. So focus will be on the translation, that is for sure. But I call, India is very good in Jugaad. You might have heard this name, Jugaad. So that's also an innovation. But what we are now talking of is what I call deep innovation, DEEP. The deep innovation is basically innovation based on high science and based on high science, technology and innovation based on high science. So that's the Louis Pasteur's quadrant, where you have a high science combined with a great application, which is called use-inspired basic science. So I think this is what we are looking at, even in the STARS program. I have highlighted when we are making domain expert committee chairs met. I also highlighted the same thing, that we have to have very good fundamental science. We have to have very good translation. Every single individual cannot do both. I'm again repeating. So as a director, what is my role? My role is to have people who can do good science, who can translate, who can understand good science and do the translation. There are people who are good innovators. You have to get them together. Unfortunately, we have only produced clones of our type. And that's the reason the variety of doing science, its translation and innovation has not come to this country. There are people, exceptional people, who actually exist in the US and many other countries who have done very high science and very high innovation. There are people who have got Nobel Prize and spun off 13 companies, 15 companies. There are people who are almost Nobel Prize and spun off many companies. George Whiteside, many of you know as a very famous chemist. George Whiteside is one brilliant example. I mean, he has done so good science and has done innovation. Somehow that has not been possible. It is probably not individual's fault alone. I think the government also has to make the system. So I hope that the present government will be able to look at that. And I think we have been discussing, because I have been in several government forums to discuss NEP and even STIP, the STARS, and several things, what we should take up. As in fact, I must also tell you, this Friday, I hope all of you know, on the 2nd October, Honorable Prime Minister is inaugurating a very important summit called VIBHA. I hope many of you know VIBHA. This is a summit where it will involve the Indian diaspora all over the world, the residents of India and the non-resident Indians, as well as PIO, persons of Indian origin, all across the world. So on what are the science verticals in which we can actually combine and work to build the nation. I think that is very important. It's a mammoth program that has been given almost like 25, 30 verticals. And each vertical has 4 or 5 horizontals. Each horizontals have many sessions. So ISAR Kolkata, I'm very happy that ISAR Kolkata has taken the leadership. Well, I have taken the leadership on one of the horizontals of a vertical called computational science. There is a vertical called computational science, which has many horizontals. One of the horizontals is computational natural science. Then others are data science, artificial intelligence, so IIT Kharagpur, IIT Hyderabad, many other institutions are there. So ISAR Kolkata is leading. There's only ISAR which is actually there, leading the computational natural science. Within that, we have 6 or 7 sessions. So one of them is computational chemistry. Since Ayan Datta is there, I want to tell him in advance that he will get an invitation to participate as a participant. So we have a panelist from India, very eminent panelist, about 4 or 5 people from India, 4 or 5 people from abroad. We will look at what can be done. So I think again, the whole idea is how to change the innovation scenario. If we team up with people from abroad, can we change it? Of course, some people will say, no, I mean, what can we not do what they can do? But I think government is exploring this. So all these summits that are taking place is to bring in this ecosystem of innovation. That is what I'm trying to tell. And that's a major feature of this STIP policy, is to bring in new science, new technology, which can be geared to the innovation. So in fact, this Saturday, I have the first meeting of the computational chemistry, which I'm the moderator, but I'm also leading the entire horizontal. And we have done computational biology. I saw Nilanjana there. She will be rapporteur. In fact, every session there will be a moderator, there will be a rapporteur. So we'll have a rapporteur, we'll have a moderator, so that the entire thing can go to the government. DRDO has been given the task of organizing this mammoth thing. Till 2nd November, it will go on. 2nd November is when the Prime Minister will close this. It's a 1-month-long program of VIBHA Summit. But again, the whole idea is the same thing, to bring in innovation. So the STIP is not that you have to do work under STIP. STIP is just brings together all this in a document that what we require. But many of these things are going in a separate way. It may not be under STIP, but they are all going. So basically, they are all to strengthen the science and technology and innovation policy. So I hope that will succeed. I joined a little late, and I was hearing about the SERB and DST funding policy, which according to me, it's important, but I think I don't want to discuss because this is not, I mean, there are bigger issues. Of course, one committee or somebody can make mistake, but there are bigger issues which I'm discussing. So I think the real problem is that we do not have the proper innovation ecosystem in this country. And I think that is what I believe we have to develop. Either with the help of the people from abroad, Indians abroad, Indian diaspora coming together, that's a bigger chance that the Indian diaspora may come up, set up something, help them to also, our fundamental science is not bad in India, I tell you. It's just that how do you orient them, of course, in the right channel? That is going to be a challenge as you implement this STIP. I think I will stop here. If you have any questions on specific thing about STIP, you can read out. I will try to explain. But I'm aware because I have been working. And in fact, in the education, we are also telling the same thing. Bring in innovation in the education. So the innovation has been the key word, either in research or in education. And of course, it's very important today to understand that this must be integrated. Research and education, unfortunately, research laboratories, they were only doing research, they are not teaching. And today it is changing. Of course, even ICS has a teaching environment. CSI labs have also teaching environment, which is unthinkable at some point of time. So I think this has to happen, that the research and education must get integrated, and then probably we can teach students how to be innovative. I think the students are our future. We have to remember. Many of us, as I'm getting old, I'm really making this point that the students are our future. We must teach them how to be innovative, and we are not doing enough. We are not doing enough, and I'm very sad to say this. There are not many courses on how to be innovative, how to think original. We don't encourage how to think original from the school level. So we are more exam oriented rather than knowledge oriented. So once our education becomes knowledge oriented, I think the innovation will automatically come, and many of the ideas of STIP then will be implemented. All right, thank you. If you have any questions, I'll answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Pal, for your wonderful insights and a kind of a bird's eye view of the overall policy. May I request Dr. Jajati Nayak from the Variable Energy Cyclotron Center to have his opinion? Jajati ji, is there?
So I think, yeah, so we don't see him. So can I ask something?
Yeah.
Ayan? So
Yes.
Professor Paul, so as you said, it is very important for this, innovation to have, a good team of people. So right now, if you see the funding, most of the funding, of course, there are some big funding schemes which actually give to the group of people. So if you see, most of our funding is actually given to individual. So if there are more schemes which are widely available to a group of people, I think that will basically help in bridging this gap. Sometimes, you need a group of people to go one step further. Right now, everything is individual based, actually, if you see everything in the system, even.
But we are already giving funding, because I'm in several funding organizations. So we are already giving funding to projects which have more than one PI, but not the group in the way that you are mentioning, but maybe a PI and two co-PIs and so on. So there are some consortium projects, as you know, in which we actually encourage consortia. There are projects which are institution projects, where an institution is giving something. So I agree with you that this is not very visible. Those things are not very visible. What is visible is individual-based projects. But I think there are sporadic attempts. Even in the STARS, we are encouraging two PIs to come together. And though it is, I would say, more or less individual-driven, maximum a PI and a co-PI, which is there in the DST. But there are consortium projects like when we had DST had partnered with the European Union, many of you know Indo-European Union projects. They had actually 5 or 6 people from India, different institutions, similar number from Europe, coming together and putting up projects. But obviously, it has not happened as a matter of routine. I completely agree with you. And I think SERB, I will suggest to Sandeep that SERB should have a channel in which these group projects should also be encouraged.
Right. So what I mean is, suppose if I have to apply for funding, something like 50 to 60 is easily given for an individual. Suppose if I want to bring 4 to 5 people, the same, then you add everything together and then give it. So I think this will, in some way, for SERB, maybe this will be the same amount, but when they give it in a group, so the people who need complementary expertise can actually come together, and then this will lead to the, this will bridge the gap. Suppose if you see, there are special calls for bringing up a product into the market, but suddenly you cannot have you cannot have a product unless you have a group of people working together. I think this will be very important to do this, actually.
I know. So the only issue that will come up there is, again, the judgmental issues. Who will be judging that these 4 or 5 people will be able to bring a complementary expertise to innovate a product? I think that has been the real problem, because our skills, I would say our expertise is very thin in any field. Unlike many other countries where there are a lot of people, what we call peers. So basically our peer level is very thin, and that has been one of the problems. But I completely agree with you that is what it should be, because you must first have a product before you go to the market. So that product innovation is just not done in India. That's what I told you. You are good in process innovation, but not in product innovation. I'm again talking of probably chemical innovation in the chemical space. I would like to hear in other space what is this situation. But in chemical innovation, I'm sure all of you know that we are very strong in process innovation, including pharmaceuticals and other things, but not in product. No new drug has come from India. Can you imagine? But so many processes have contributed to the known drugs. And in fact, Cipla, Lupin, if you look at the entire pharmaceutical scenario in Mumbai and Pune, you will realize that they have all benefited from ICT Mumbai and NCL Pune, and now IICT Hyderabad, and so on. Okay. Yeah. Point taken.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mallaji, we have, I think, Dr. Prasoon Mandal has also joined from your institute.
Prasoon, can you hear? I don't know. I don't see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mallaji, can you just introduce him and so that he can have his views?
Sure. So Prasoon is basically a professor in chemistry department, and we were basically together in University of Hyderabad when in PhD. So he's a good friend of mine. So Prasoon works on spectroscopy and single molecule spectroscopy particularly. Yeah. So Prasun, do you have ideas to share with us regarding the new science and technology policy?
As Professor Pal also mentioned that yes, and you also shared your views regarding this, that it has to be a multiple PI project which should be emphasized more. And it's not like, say, one particular person can yield say a lot. And Professor Paul was also mentioning that say the government of India has brought about this STARS program. So the STARS program, maybe one person from say one field and the other person from the other field could collaborate to bring some product in the market. So since I come mostly from the spectroscopy background, so I know that many people are working on some systems which can be moderated spectroscopically to nail down the properties that is highly required for the product innovation that Professor Paul was talking about, and then expertise from other PIs if it can be implemented to get a product. So then this kind of funding should be provided on a large scale. And then I think although it is not there, as Professor Paul was mentioning regarding the product innovation, but I think we are not maybe very far away to get some product, maybe in the from the biology background or from the chemistry background. So these are the two subjects from where you expect the product to come more easily. Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah, Prasun, I should also mention that government has now started, actually it's quite old, imprint project. Many of you have heard imprint, right?
Right.
Yes, yes.
So I also have an imprint project, but imprint projects are basically a more of innovation. So they're highlighting technology, they're highlighting actually product. That do you have a product or processes new in the market? STAR is somewhat little bit more fundamental. So
Right.
because we're trying to balance. So when the imprint came, a lot of people are saying that this is too much applied. So then there's a balance of stars. So I think there is a continuous thought that is going on, and we will have another meeting with the secretary, Mr. Khare, on the stars call too. But I think we are having continuous discussion. Where is the balance? How can we achieve both? And this is not very easy, as you will know, because every individual does not have an expertise of science, technology, and innovation. Right, so that so let's hope that things will work out. Yeah. So anyway, back to Ian.
Okay, sir. Thank you we have thank you the team ICER for your wonderful contribution. And with the permission of Professor Pal, may I also request the other members to share their views, and if they have any doubts, if you can debug them.
Yeah, so, if there is any question. But okay. I'll also like to hear others.
Okay, sir. So may I request Professor Sanjeev Nag, who is from the Department of Architecture in Jadavpur University. He is one of the, he's also a member of what we call the Making India Group. We call it the Making India Group, and I say it with all humility. There have been a lot of groups which say Breaking India Group. There are groups which say Tukre Tukre Gang. So we said we will make one Making India Group, and we thought where we will try to make India. So I think he has made a Making India Group in Jadavpur University, and he's a professor of senior professor of architecture, Professor Sanjeev Nag, and if he can, we can hear his views. Sanjeev da. Okay. I think, I think we called him. Okay, in that case, we will have our senior colleague from North Bengal University, Dr. Anirban Mishra. He's a senior professor in the chemistry department there, and has been a kind of a very prolific researcher within the university system. And I must say, many of us know, particularly in a state university, is not easy to do cutting edge research, but he's one of the very few exceptions who has published very prolifically from a state university. Professor Anirban.
I am disturbing a little bit because sorry, Oya, you called me, but my net connection is having a problem, and I joined late. It will be better if I listen to all the deliberations over here, and if anything is required, I will give my observation at the end. So
Okay.
Thanks for calling me. Thanks for calling me.
Okay. Okay. Anirban.
Yeah. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Okay, I'm really, I thank the Vivekananda Vigyan Mission for organizing this program, and particularly thank Ayan for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to talk. So, as you rightly mentioned, that I'm from the university system. So, in the overall any policy when it's being documented, I somehow feel the university people are kind of little left out. You just imagine the kind of big Indian institutes you are in. If you just go for number wise, the medium level chemists like us, there are much more in number than you people in ISAR or cultivation or in the IIC Bangalore or different IITs. But these people in the university, they feel that they're somehow left out. It may so happen when they join, they were almost at par, but down the line, 10, 15 years back, they keep losing confidence, because they are not invited to participate in standard national events, or if you go, you feel that you also find they're not participating. Mostly in chemistry conferences, when I go, I find among the university, I may be the only one or two representatives, other from the institutes. So that means due to some reason, these people are feeling being left out, and as it is left out, and most of the system in the university system, it's not actually performance oriented. You don't get reward performance. That equation doesn't work. Here you have a long period of service, then you will be automatically promoted kind of thing. So as a result, it's not work, incentive is not there. So if you work, it's your own choice. If you don't work, that's also your own choice. So it's better to choose the second option, because you will have a better life, a peaceful life. So I feel the way the science and technology policies should be implemented in such a way that these people, a chunk of people, those who are also reasonably qualified, I think pen on paper, they are equally qualified maybe, but they are not getting enough opportunity. They are feeling excluded. So the government has to make them included all over. Then suddenly you'll find that the number of people are 5 times or 10 times the number of chemists we are having. So naturally the innovation will be pumped up. So now if you are thinking about innovation in chemistry, you are thinking about 200 odd people in different institutes, maybe, or 500 odd people. Out of them, maybe 100 are too good for innovation. But if you include these university people, suddenly this capable number of potential capable people will be maybe 5,000. Then out of them, at least 500 you can make out those who really can do the job. So I think the policy should be made in such a way that they can be included. They don't feel excluded, and gradually they escape. So basically, we are making a space for them to escape, getting salary and living life peacefully without being burdened, without taking the burden of innovation, research, and all. So I think inclusiveness must be reflected more in any kind of policy documentation. So that's what I wanted to mention at this point of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nivanda. See, I mean, in the draft STIP, which many of you have seen, there has been a proposal in which every scientist has to spend a fixed amount of time in an university, and every university faculty has to spend a kind of a reciprocate this in a mutually kind of a agreeable pattern. How it will be done needs to be worked out. That's for sure. We need to do that. Sure, I agree with you. Professor Pal, you would like to make a comment?
Yeah, I tell you, this particular scheme was there in a different form earlier, where there is a mobility that somebody from university can spend 2 or 3 months in a CSIR lab or a DST lab or DA lab, which is more of research centric. Obviously, this was availed of by the faculties of the universities which are less endowed, where the research facilities are not there. In a very small way, college teachers, you already know, the Indian Academy and National Academies of Sciences have come together for a summer fellowship, in which college teachers also spend some time, right? 6 weeks to 2 months in summer with some of the researchers. So it is there in some form or other. But again, to make it really count, I think that practice what you said, how to implement. The whole idea is to make it count. That is when they really come, some meaningful work is done, where the university faculty brings home some knowledge, which can eventually be utilized at the university when they come back. So I think it should not be like an isolation, just spend time and forget about it. So so many of these policies are very good, but I think it really requires high-end implementation, and that is going to, you are right, that is going to finally determine the success of this program. But it's a very good scheme, I should say.
Thank you, Professor Pal. We have also with us today Professor of Computer Science in the Jadavpur University, Dr. Professor Buddhadev Shau. Buddhadev, you would like to share your view?
Hello. Hello. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, the discussion is very good. I prefer to listen. Only I can say that actually in different research views, I have seen that we are taking a race. And actually, we are racing for research. There is always we are trying to something beating others. So I think there should be some way so that we can focus on research rather than promotion. Whenever I want to I want to found some research paper or research innovations in the literature, generally I found there's lots of spurious works. After searching, then I got fed up. Most of time, I got a leaky, fruitful paper from where I can learn something, but I can have, so that I can improve there. So that's why I believe that the research will not be a criteria for the promotion. First of all, research will be from my heart. So research should not be taken as the criteria for promotion. In my opinion, it should be removed from promotion. Promotion would be based on others, like his experience, or that may be others. But in the educational institutes, I have found that lots of people are doing research, but actually they are not doing the fruitful research. They are just doing some papers for promotion. So that should be stopped. Only I would like to say this. Thank you.
I mean, I'm sure the research should be fruitful and useful. I mean, it should not be only to publish papers. I mean, at the end of the day, that of course all of us agree, because world is changing very fast, and we have to focus on quality. And so, can we have Dr. Povitra Pal from the Physics Department of Jadavpur University? And he has been a very active member of the ABRSM, the Akhil Bharatiya Rashtriya Swaichhik Mahasangha, and also the Vigyan Bharati unit of Jadavpur University. So would like to have his opinion as well.
Thank you, Ayan. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So today, good evening, everybody. And today we are basically enriched from the discussions and the valuable opinion and suggestions from the various distinguished scientists, researchers, and we are happy with that Professor Saurabh Pal, Director of ISER, is with us, and other eminent scientists here. So the STIP 2020, the policy, the program is very important for the today's our perspective for the research for the national interest. And my observation, I have 16 years of experience in teaching and research, and I feel that today that after the independence that we have set up a lot of national institutes, national laboratories, the DST funded laboratories, CSIR, the central universities, state universities, a lot of things we have. But the problem is that basically our mindset actually. So our environment, most of the time we are fighting, we are managing the constraints from the bureaucratic, bureaucratic atmosphere, bureaucratic constraints. So that's the problem. Another thing is that we have published so many things here in very big journals, very high impact journals. It's okay. But whether we are talking about, we are thinking about our everyday everyday needs. China is going ahead in our neighboring country. So if we think about our everyday needs from the scientific point of view, then we can explore our innovation. We can explore our thoughts, what we discuss, what we explore every day in our laboratories, in our research, etc., etc. That's the problem. Another thing is that the entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is that DST, CSIR, and all other funding agencies have funded a lot of monies, invested monies in different institutes, the universities. The problem is that the translation that Professor Saurabh Pal sir also nicely highlighted this thing, that what about the translation of the research? That is that we have so many companies around the globe, and how many companies they come up with their interest to explore our scientific thoughts or our innovations to India become more economically affluent or economically more self-reliant. So that's the main problem, the entrepreneurship also. I have when I was in postdoc in the United States, my supervisor, mentor, he had also a company. So I was surprised. Oh my God, the professor is also having company. So this thing should be here in India for the national interest, for our economical development, the social development, etc. So the mindset is very important, that our scientists should be free from these type of constraints, what I've already pointed out, and we should think about, we should correlate our everyday needs for the society. Because whenever we publish some papers, we deal with many chemical compounds or any subjects, you see that there are many implications for our everyday life or everyday interest. So that's the problem, because China is going ahead in this way, so far I think. So this is the difference between the China and India. So we should think, the government should think about in this way, so that we can have an environment so that we can proceed further for the national interest, for the economical upliftment we can have. So that another interesting important thing is that the different funding agencies have funded a lot of money, but my opinion, my suggestions is that if there is some clusters of instrumentation, because somebody has, Professor Maladi also pointed out that the projects are very individual centric in many cases. So if we have some very big sophisticated instruments, and there are many faculties, they are not getting the access of those instruments. So nobody knows who can invent a good thing. So my suggestion is that every institutes there should be some cluster of sophisticated instrumentation center, so that we can utilize, we can have proper utilization of those instruments for a better scientific outputs, scientific gain. And lastly, what I should mention here, that the government should focus on the universities as well, because in universities in India, everywhere in the world, basically, we are dealing with lot of number of students. So students are the future of any country. So if from the very beginning, even from the undergraduate level, if they have the mindset that research is there, and for the national or economical development, research is important. So there should be some mindset should be grown from the very beginning of the student. So which will be very beneficial for our scientific community for the coming futures. So that's the most important observation or my opinion. I thank you all, the all Bigyan Bharati group here, members, for arranging this type of very good discussions, which really help us to proceed further. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavitra. And in fact, the point which Nilanjana also mentioned, that bureaucracy has to be reduced. so that, we don't spend so much of time in maintaining paper and then worry about an audit which will come after 10 years and want to see the bank guarantee, which you should not worry about a bank guarantee 10 years from now. Rather, you should worry about the guarantee of the research which you do now. So this is something which is certainly a point well taken. So we also have from Jadavpur University, chemistry department, Professor Shomit Goho, who is a bioorganic chemist. So would you like to have your views as well?
Okay. Thank you, Ayanda. Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank Bigyan Bharati for organizing this fantastic meeting. I feel that we need to support basic research and people to create knowledge that could be transformed to technology in future. We need to focus on research and innovation investment in India. As a faculty, our primary goal should be to publish good quality work in high impact factor journals. We should apply for patent and try to commercialize the product. For example, in 2020, from India, total patent application is around 45,000. Whereas from China, it is around 13 lakh. And for US, it is around 6 lakh. So as I am a faculty member of Jadavpur University, although it is a state university, however, it is a prime university in India. And our main goal is to produce quality PhD students as well as to produce quality undergraduate and postgraduate students. I think we need to balance the teaching and research, which is our main target, with administrative work. We need to interact with different types of scientists, educationists from various departments to enlighten our knowledge. We need to focus collaborative project because good collaboration or teamwork will give you high quality work and the results could be translated easily to technology. The funds allocated to research have declined from 0.84% of GDP in 2008 to 0.69% in 2020 as compared to, if you consider USA, so 2.8% GDP. If you consider Israel, 4.3% GDP. And if you consider China even, 2.1% GDP. So hope in the coming year, fund allocation to research will increase. And at the last, I should mention that at this moment, it is very difficult to access the instrument which is available at other institutes, particularly for the university faculty. This will not help to develop the science and technology. So now over to Ayanda.
Thank you, Shomit. I think your points are certainly worthwhile. And in fact, this is something which we have been also thinking from our viewpoint. For example, COVID has also put many of the universities, particularly the maintaining the instruments. So some of the, for example, we have ISAs and you have Jadavpur University, which are like opposite to each other in the road. So why don't we have the instruments being shared in some
Exactly.
I mean, we can work out something, right? I mean, this should be natural. Okay. We have also got a message from Dr. Nilanjana Sengupta, and she also had a brainwave, and I think she wanted to further deliberate upon it, which is very good. So people are coming back in the meeting; they are developing their thoughts. So Dr. Sengupta, I would like to have your views again. Can you speak?
Previous point?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No.
Am I audible?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay. So I was listening very keenly to all this discussion, and one of the things, what Shomit just said, we have to innovate, we have to kind of have barrierless sharing of facilities, etc. One of the things that I have noticed, we have extremely smart people at various places across India, even in the same institute. What we do not do is walk across to somebody with a different kind of expertise, maybe with an orthogonal expertise, and we don't collaborate across the board. That's very infrequent in India. The chemistry department will be just a chemistry department. Somebody doing computations has a large barrier into going and talking to a computer scientist, right? I have no idea about how machine learning works. Can I reach out to somebody in the CS department? And that kind of a seamless coffee table discussion where we can come up with innovations on the fly, that is missing. But one little difference is I have seen that happen very much in the West, where people across different disciplines actually just go out for a coffee, and there are different things that come out from very casual but inspired discussions. That somehow is very missing. We are very conservative when it comes to disciplines, and we are very resistant to any breakage of that. So, and I think I'm sorry, I know Professor Pal is here, but he knows me for a long time, and I hope he'll pardon my saying this. Even in SERB and other funding organizations, you have, chemistry of one kind, you have, the bucket list is too specialized. I was wishing that we had a mechanism of breaking these barriers so that, together we could be more innovative. If I have, Oyon, I know you personally, so if I need any specific expertise, I will, ping you anytime. But, I wish I could ping somebody in my physics department, next door, or in a CS department, right? To just fill in the gap. No ego issues, nothing. If we could do that seamlessly, that would be wonderful. Just my, as you said, extempore speak. No planning here or anything, but my 2 cents.
Thank you, Nilanjana.
Nilanjana, just one comment here to Nilanjana. Is well taken, but I think it's not wholly true that we do not appreciate. You yourself are a great example. You are MSc Physics. You are in Biology Department of IISER Kolkata. You are adjunct. We are now adjunct associated with the Chemistry Department also of IISER Kolkata. So you are now there in all the 3 departments. So, and you are MSc Physics actually.
Yes.
I want to highlight to them. I don't know how many people know that she is MSc Physics from Viswabharati. Am I right, Nilanjana?
Burdwan actually. University of Burdwan?
Yeah, University of Burdwan, MSc Physics. I just somehow missed Viswabharati. But then she is now doing more biology and chemistry using physics tools. So I think you yourself are a wonderful example. And it's not that we have not...
Publishing in chemistry journals. Publishing in chemistry journals.
So I just
Publishing in chemistry journals.
I just wanted to tell that we are not so blind.
Yeah, but more of that would be nice, so that
I'm
so excited that
I'm saying whenever such people are there, we will open our eyes, definitely. But how to promote such people, that's a good thought. Yeah, how to promote such a cross fertilization. I mean, I completely agree that even within chemistry, we have physical chemistry, organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry. Forget about chemistry and physics marriage. But even within chemistry, we are so compartmentalized. So, there are universities which give MSc in organic chemistry, MSc in analytical chemistry. Okay. They don't give MSc chemistry. So I think your point is well taken. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you, Nilanjana. So I think I think we will try to we would there are a lot of important points, but one of the points is of course to have natural discussions within the institutes.
Yeah.
And I think one of the very good examples which we saw today is IISER Kolkata. I mean, IISER Kolkata. A young assistant and associate professor and the director sitting in the same panel and arguing themselves out. I think this is the right model. I think IISER Kolkata is the right way. I think Bengal is in safe hands with Professor Pal and the
Ayan, we are polite here.
And I have to say this, I truly mean it. Yeah, with Professor Pal, really, I mean, I don't know how common this is in other places, but having a director and an assistant or an associate professor, just speaking freely on the same platform. We need to have more of that. We cannot just have one example, Professor Pal. We need to have replicates of this all over the place if possible.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you. So
Thank
I
you
think
very much.
I think we had enough of the faculty board meeting of ICER. So I think we should have listen to other institutes, please. Okay, so we have with us Professor Shomor Sarkar, and Professor Shomor Sarkar has been a kind of a science enthusiast. I mean, he is a veterinary scientist, and if we can have him with us, if he can speak to us, that would be wonderful.
Am I audible?
Yeah, Shomor da, খুব ভালো শুনতে পাচ্ছি।
Am I audible? So just I was listening the very important discussion. First of all, I am thankful to the organizer who have given me the chance to participate, and particularly Professor Wayan. And here I am seeing the lot of illuminaries from various universities and also various research institutes and organizations. So the discussion is very unique, and I am surprised to know that as far as the rank, India is number 3 to produce PhD students or PhD scholars or guiding PhD students. However, innovation aspects, the rank is only 52. So innovation is the key. Otherwise, it would be a futile exercise until and unless we have the capacity to build the innovation line of work. It would not be helpful to contribute in the society. And our Prime Minister is actually talking about the innovative work. I am basically from the agriculture and allied profession. Previously, I was with the Bidhan Chandra Krishi Vishwavidyalaya. Now I am West Bengal University of Animal and Fisheries Sciences. So my domain is on the agriculture aspects. And here I should say the ongoing debate is about the agriculture bills, but it has rightly implemented because all the advantages with the farmers are remaining, but because of the opposition politics, they are opposing it. Actually, when I talk about the Rabindranath Tagore, he was of the opinion that in the villages or in the rural sector, there is all the resources gifted by the nature or the God. Just we have to integrate it. Otherwise, we cannot build a very good nation. Say, for example, we did also a great mistake when we applied the fertilizers, chemical fertilizers, particularly in the agriculture field, to boost up the production in the name of green revolution, and we have spoiled the character of this soil. Now the production is not at present sustainable, and also in the veterinary sector or the animal husbandry sector, we have gone for the crossbreeding program. So we are greedy, and in the F1 generation the production was increased, but in the F2 generation there were lot many complications because our breed was very much resistant. And with this crossbreeding program, we have invited so many complications. Say, for example, one disease is very important, foot and mouth disease. And foot and mouth disease, again, the complication arises because we cannot export the meat because of the OIE, Office International Epizootics. So therefore, we should come to the organic farming and integrated farming. And in our domain, this aspect is going on vehemently. We have to include the fisheries in the if we go through this aspect, then the production will be definitely increasing. So, some innovative aspects we must also achieve. And as far as the research is concerned, research is not for all. Research is particularly for a special group of people who are thoughtful, who have the thought process. And research is a teamwork. Someone was talking about the collaborative research. Yes, and we should talk also about the PPP model research work, because there will be enough competition, and there will be competition on innovation, and eventually we may come out with the application, and also helpful to the society. So with these few words, I'm again thankful to pass on time with the lot of luminaries, the personnel from the physics. She is talking about the marriage between the physics and biology, and physics and chemistry, something like that. And Sir was talking about that chemistry, and not as a whole MSc in chemistry. MSc is analytical chemistry, or organic chemistry, or physical chemistry. This is good because it's a branches that we need to develop. Similar like that of the medical science, that after MBBS, then in our profession also BBSc, then master, then also the super specialization, and in medical science also there is MCH and DM, like that. So it needs special kind of expertise. It is not possible by all. With these few words, I once again thankful to the organizer for conducting such a beautiful webinar, and we are coming closer, and at least I am learning at the end of the day so many things to talk with my students also about the situation of the research, both in biological science, chemical science, engineering science, along with our science also. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shomarda, for your words of wisdom. And so we also have from Jadavpur University, Professor Dr. Partho Mahata, and he is in the chemistry department. So if he would like to make a kind of make his views, if he has some.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Hello. So Professor Mallareddy described something about the quality. In India, there are many different kind of institutes like that, IIT, ISAR, then Central University, then State University, even in college. Some of these universities is under under MHRD, some of these institute, and there is some of the institute is under DST, and there is university and college that are under UGC. And you see, even UGC is asking a college assistant professor or associate professor that you do the research. After that, you will get some point, then you will get the promotion. Then what these teachers are doing, they are doing something, some work or something. So they are doing to get promotion. So you cannot expect from these college teachers, because they don't have the facility to do the research. So whatever they are doing, or they are producing some paper because of for their promotion. So when you have the quality, then there should be a strong correlation among these things. That means the UGC, MHRD, and DST. Otherwise, if there is no common platform, you cannot go up. And second thing, in India, we are seeing some scheme like that UGC. They created a scheme called UGC FRP. So there is a centralized interview, and they selected some people for that. And after that, when these people, when they selected and they are applying to different university, the university, they are not bothering to reply them. So that means there is no correlation between the university and UGC. Another important scheme I want to mention you, that is DST Inspire Faculty. So initially, probably this started in 2011 and 12. And that time it was very good and many bright postdocs, they are applying for that. And after that, many institutes, they are recruiting them. And when 2-3 years over, nobody's bothering about them. And now even the most worst thing happening now, when they are getting selected for this to inspire, they are applying for many institutes, they are not replying to them at all, that there is any space or not, or they will take them or not. They are not allowing anything. So what that indicate? There is no correlation between the DST and this institute. If there is a correlation, so then they should get the reply from them. So that this type of thing we should allow. And another thing I'm telling you, when you are creating some contextual thing like that DST Inspire or UGC FRP, then why you are not creating assistant professorship position contextually in every places? That means if you recruit faculty in ICER, in IIT or university, they are also should be assistant professor for contractual for 5 years or 10 years. Make it homogeneous. Otherwise, there will be complexity in all over. So I think if you recruit somebody that work in this ICER or work in this IIT, and after that I get the permanent position after 1 or 2 years, then if I think that I will not work, then up to 60 years I can work there without doing anything, because they have recruited me for doing my research. So that should be taken care, that there should be some check after 10 years or after 15 years, then only we should get the promotion. So this is my views on if we want to do some good thing, there should be some pressure on the people. Thank you.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I fully agree with you that the coordination is basically missing at many levels actually. For example, DST has several schemes. All these were started with very good intentions, but I'm sure they are taking the feedback. But I think sometimes there is a big lag actually in taking the feedback. So, for example, if the scheme is not doing well, I think there should be a good analysis of. As I said, based on the data, I think we don't analyze the data and then transparently publish it. I think some soul searching is required for all the institutions, like funding agencies. Plus, there should be a good coherence, as you said. But I think this requires a lot of effort and also accountability at the different levels. For example, if somebody is floating the scheme, and then there should be continuous evaluation of that. So I think these are the problems, but I'm not the right person to comment on this. So I don't know if Professor Paul wants to say something about some of these sensitive issues.
Maybe we will get to hear all the comments, and then if Professor Paul would add.
Sure. Yeah.
I just appreciate these sentiments, that I think there should be parity. And I think ICERs are already discussing tenure track. Tenure track positions are already being discussed in ICERs uniformly across ICERs, but I think no decision has been taken yet. Can that be done all across the country? But I agree that the human resource should be normalized.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, Mallaji, we have we have a different view. We also have a view from an entrepreneur who has his own IT company, and we would like to hear his view on the new science, technology, and the innovation policy. Rajiv ji.
Namaskar.
Namaste. So Rajiv ji, you would like to express your views, particularly he is an IT professional. He has his own startup. And so I think we should also listen to an innovator in some way. It should not be only science practitioners as such. So Rajiv ji, can you switch on your video so that we can?
Yeah, I have switched on.
Yes,
and
right.
Thank you, Professor Ayanta, Vigyan Bharati, and all the dignitaries in this session. This was really enlightening to hear Professor Pal, the director of ICER. And one thing he mentioned, that Jugaad, we Indians are very much fascinated with Jugaad kind of innovations. But there is something which we consider as a workaround, not a permanent solution. So what I would
prefer and I was looking in any of the policy is the one thing that where we need to collaborate than preferring competition among various agencies. That is the one reason that some days back I contacted Sri Prasad ji and was in contact with one of the professor from Presidency University, where we are working on cyber security thing. So there we started looking on some sort of research that these professors are doing in the institutions, where we can think of taking these things to the market. So this is altogether a different domain that I am talking about, but what I am talking about is the innovation. What we are looking about in anything is innovation. So if we are innovating enough, if we are innovating something that should go into the market, and one thing Professor Malla Reddy has mentioned, rightly that we need more collaboration. We need more collaboration with the research institution. What we have seen in the Western universities, there the professors or the researchers are free to innovate and conceptualize their idea within the campus itself. A very good example of this is Google, Facebook, which came out of the college campus, and now they are one of the renowned industries. These kind of model we also need in our country. This is what we are focusing on and we are working on it. This is from my side.
Thank you, Rajiv ji. Thank you for your viewpoint. And it's also good to know that people from industry, I mean, from an IT company is working on cyber security with an academician. I think we need to work on it, make it more a norm rather than an exception. So I think we had a very, very wonderful session. I think I have also got one message from Srimati Apola Chakraborty, and she had a question for Professor Pal. Srimati Chakraborty, you are there?
Yes. Very much present. Good evening. Actually, I heard that. So I want to ask just simply because Professor Pal only highlighted that point. So I'm from the school community, sir. I'm a principal of CBSE school and my subject is also chemistry. So when we are talking about the innovation, I have seen these, if you say the child brains, they are very simple and they are innovating many things. What we feel that, okay, it is games and play. So my question is that if we can nurture this kind of innovation through our these scientific laboratories and all, and to encourage those students, I think it also be a very good, because it starts from the school level. Professor Pal, only you highlighted that point. The students are only much more talented when they are thinking something, and that is only innovation. So, sir, will you say something regarding how we can means connect these two, school and these institute and the student and the scientist? Because the scientists are only the student. They were once upon a time, they were in the school, they nurtured by their, but now they are in scientists. So if how can we connect them?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So are you asking me? Yeah.
Yes, sir, very much. Because you only highlighted so many discussion. I was extremely happy because you only highlighted about the school students.
Yeah, I think I'll tell you, it is very important to start from the school. We do not encourage. I mean, which school are you in? You are a principal of which school?
Yeah, Future Scholars Academy. It is in North 24 Parganas, yes.
Okay. So I'm just saying that the school level, we start to make people think. And at the school level, it becomes so exam oriented. I hope you have seen the National Education Policy, where they're saying that the education should be knowledge based and not so much exam based. And that is the reason they have done away with the class 10 and all kinds of things they're doing. Also multiple exits in the colleges also. I think one of the reasons is that we have to encourage them to think. We have to encourage them to ask questions and ask what I would call stupid questions, because actually there is nothing called stupid questions. I'll tell you, in US, I came to know there was some discussion about an atom. That atom has a small positive charge in the nucleus and electrons are around. Somebody, and then of course the atoms make molecules, they make materials. Somebody asked, what if the atoms were different? Having a small negative charge at the center, the high mass, and positron outside. Would the world have changed? And how would that have changed? Imagine that was a class 7 or 8 student. And see, that is a kind of question that they ask, very innovative, and we don't allow. If we say no, that means you have not read what is an atom. It doesn't have that, and we'll keep them quiet. So I think that is the reason I'm saying from the school level, you must learn, you must teach them how to innovate and how to think new. And we very often ask them to mug up. We ask them to solve a problem in a particular way. I know many schools where the teacher knows only one way to solve the problem, and if the student follows a second way, which is correct, the student doesn't get marks very often. So I think that is the kind of thing that I'm talking of, that we are becoming too much formatted in the school. And it is true, I believe, that the people must start to think, at least in class 9, 10, 11, 12. They must become smarter and they must try to think of new things. Then only research will progress, because those are the ones who come to our colleges, universities. So I am very much I very much interested in school education, because in school education, if you fail, I think down the top, wherever they go, there will be failures. So I think you have very big responsibility in the schools, I must tell you. So I hope, yeah.
Sir,
Tell me.
I'm asking how innovation, that's what I'm thinking as you are talking. My student, class 8, 4 students, some one day they were coming to me and just simply we are discussing about that, and I told that, what are you doing? Now it is this earth is full congested and all. Socho, kahan pe hum jayenge fir? Just in that way, when we said, the next day, the children, they came to me and told that, yes, ma'am, we thought. What you thought, sir? Whatever their children, but I must say, ma'am, we are creating an artificial orbit in between Earth and Mars, and we are placing on planet. So, and they decided the name also, Laben. And sir, believe me, Laben, the planet, and they are thinking, and they showed me as per their level. Yes, this will be 3 layers. This layer, there will be agricultural part. Second layer, it will be industry. Third layer, it will be a residential area, and so. So I'm talking that, okay, fine, they are thinking in this way, but how to connect with this, their innovation to be encouraged? See, in the school, when they will go class 9, they forget everything.
Yeah, I know.
We'll stop
so
it.
That is the problem.
That's
the problem. So that is why in the education policy, the exam orientation has to be reduced. It has to be knowledge oriented rather than exam oriented. Our education has become more of exam. I cannot imagine people getting even 97, 98% marks. I mean, I can't imagine. It's not necessary to get 97, 98% mark. I mean, you can do, actually when I did schooling in West Bengal, I mean, it was unthinkable. Today, somebody gets less than 90% mark, it's a disaster. I mean, so this is, if that is the error, that only 1 or 2% is the error that you are leaving from 100. It's a very bad situation, because they will only mug up and try to get to that point. So I think that rote learning has to reduce. You have to have more objective education, where thinking, the problems that you will give them requires them thinking. It may be an imaginary problem. It doesn't matter. The problem may not exist. It's an imaginary problem, and let them worry about it and then give you solutions. Yeah. So that thinking will be developed. I think that is what we have to do. I hope NCERT will come up with proper books to help you.
Thank you, Apoladi.
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Welcome.
Okay, so we had a very long day, and I think Professor Pal directly came from a class, and I think he is also, but he loves teaching, we all know. Even in NCL, he used to take classes where he was never forced to do teaching. So we all know that. So, okay, so before we close the day, do we have any questions? I mean, would anybody like to have make a few comments? Sanjeev Da, I mean, if you have heard,
Uh,
Professor Sanjeev
just
Nath
at
from
the
Nagpur University Architecture Department.
okay. I have just 2 or 3 observations only at the fag end of this long discussion. Sorry, I've been late. What I think is, since I am from Jadavpur University and going to the classes of 40 and 60 students, it's as Professor Paul was telling, it's really because of the last education policies and all, and as also Partha has mentioned, the this research part and the academics part, they get jumbled up together, and actually both of them lose their credibility and quality also, to my point of view, in especially in the state universities like us, Jadavpur or everywhere else. So it's like research is as a part of career, it has become at this point. Whereas across the road in the cultivation, where oil and all are there, they do serious research. And definitely their innovations has applications also. But one point can be there should be a balance between this applicability and the research. Both are required, because we have to take care of the students coming from commercial areas, trying to build their careers and this and that. So, and in that way, I think as per the talking point in the point number 5, I think I appreciate that. I think there should be a give and take policy between the institutes of pure research and institutes of pure application of the same. এটা খুব ভালো হয় if good researchers from this type of institutes come and teach for short spans in universities, and vice versa. We can share our these things. Another point I appreciate in the with respect to 9 that Professor Paul was telling, to instigate or to ignite among the bright minds in the school levels, especially in the UG level, to make these people think. And this is very important, and that thinking process, that research should be small bits, not a very big one. Whatever they do, they should be requested to give the logic to that through proper backup, research backup. And I felt and I realized also that it is in future, if somebody gets serious about it and slowly develop a love for the subject, they will definitely will try to do the research part in a sincere one. And for this, and small experience and a small observation to share. Almost all of you know the last since I am from architecture, I am sharing this. The last Hindu kingdom of India is in a place called Hampi in Karnataka, and we went. We have to go for visits to these places, and as we all know that it was a beautiful kingdom and destroyed by the foreign forces, as we all know, and it took almost 6 months to destroy the whole thing. You can imagine whatever we left over there. One temple is there called Virupaksha temple. And when people get ignited by this way of research, small research, the students, they found out that there is a pinhole camera which has been existing for more than 1,000 years. It's still there, but they somehow managed the caretakers and this and that. They made it operate. It's a permanent stone structure. And the caretaker was telling, after almost 1.5 years, only the foreigners come and look for it. First time these young people are looking for it, and it worked. So these are type of research these people are doing. When they love the subject, in future they will have passion for this. And if somebody do serious things on this in material science and other social sciences also, we come up with something in which India will be as a whole will be benefited in the long run. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share. Hope these young minds will get ignited to this type of problems, other than the serious research that is going on in the other aspects in the other institutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thanks a lot for your wonderful idea. And so I think with the permission of Professor Pal, and the fact that we don't have any further questions, maybe request the Executive Secretary of the Vivekananda Vigyan Mission, Shri Shiv Prasad, to conclude the session and also share his views.
I think let me thank the mission first of all for inviting me. Okay, and also Malla Reddy for enabling this. So it was nice that I was here and could share my views on the STIP 2020. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that.
So this is the time we are going to conclude our session for today now. So before that, I would like to thank to all the team members over here, and my special thanks to the director of ICER Kalyani, ICER Kolkata, Professor Dr. Saurav Pal, and other team members from ICER Kolkata and other participants over here from Jadavpur University, IEST Shibpur, NIT Durgapur, and other universities in West Bengal. So last 2 weeks, Vivekananda Vigyan Mission, the West Bengal chapter of Vijnana Bharati, continuously conducting this meeting for the to help the Ministry of Science and Technology to collect the points or recommendations for the new science, technology, and innovation policy. So the last three meetings were very much fruitful. The first meeting with the CSIR Institutes in Kolkata, all the directors of CSIR Institutes were participated in that meeting, and the scientists over there. And the second meeting, DST Institutes and the directors over there. And so the 2 meetings, we get so much points to including in the new science, technology, innovation policy. And today's meeting also very much fruitful, and so many scientists and their viewpoints we collected, and we are trying to make a draft suggestion for the draft committee. So that work is doing by our team, Dr. Sharbari Sen. Sharbari Sen ma'am is a retired scientist from National Institute of Locomotor Disabilities from Kolkata, and she is mainly making this draft. Shri Abhijit Dasgupta, he is the librarian in ISCS DST Institute in Kolkata. He is helping to collecting all the meeting minutes, and the team is leading by Dr. Jajadi Nayak. He is our governing council member of National Vigyan Bharati. So all this team is working together, and I already shared 2 email IDs in our chat box, vvmkolkata@gmail.com and sarbajisocio@gmail.com. So if you have any more points to include in this STIP 2020, you can mail to us. We will include that our suggestion draft, and we will send to the Department of Science and Technology for this. So I thanks to all our team members and all the participants from different institutions over here. Let us hope a very beautiful and very fruitful, very better science policies will come out by this government. And this government is going working hard on this way. Let us hope for good. Thanks to all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prasad.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nilanjana.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Well done discussion.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shiv Prasad ji. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all for giving me this opportunity and